Hey everyone, Landon Pavan here, doing an off-tracks episode for Mountain Standard Time. As you know it, 2026 Ski-Doos just got released, so I made a whole bunch of scribbles down on my notepad here, and we're just gonna talk about it for a little bit. Talk about the three different major models that Ski-Doo is offering for 2026, the Summit X, the Summit X Expert, and the Freeride. Let's look at the Summit X first. It's the lightest and most agile out of the three. It's available in a 154 and a 165, turbo and NA of course. And what's new for this year is forged aluminum A-arms and shorter tunnel and cooler. T-Motion X still, but it's got a coil-over rear shock. So that's interesting, saves weight there. The ultra-light 3-inch track, I'm not really sure how they made that track even lighter than what it was. So that'll also be interesting to try out. Less rotating mass equals more horsepower, and that means you go faster. So pretty cool. It's got the 34-inch front end still. Super nimble to have the 34-inch front end. I don't know why I just pointed at the sled. It's got a 36 because it's a Freeride, but I've ridden the 34-inch front end quite a bit, and I really like it. It feels really good in the trees, and you're able to ride it neutral quite a bit. So it's going to work really well with the T-Motion and the rear coilover, I'm sure. On the weight for that, the 154 turbo is 449 pounds versus 2025's 154 turbo, which was 453 pounds dry. That's according to the spec sheets. So saving a little bit of weight there, but where the weight savings comes in is the wet weights. So they didn't have wet weights listed for the 2025 Summit X, but for the 2026 spec sheets, they have dry weight and wet weight. With the wet weight, there can be up to a 14 pounds difference, which that's quite a bit. So I don't know, really, I don't know how much shorter they made the rear cooler, but it must be a little bit because that's quite a bit of coolant and maybe even shock fluid that they're saving in that wet weight. So interesting that there's that big of a difference between dry and wet. So Summit X, looking really cool for this year. Pretty sweet, excited to try it. On to the Summit X Expert though. It comes in a 154 and a 165, turbo and NA, of course. Really cool for this year is a 32-inch front end. That is really narrow. I think that's the narrowest front end that a snowmobile has seen from the factory, as well as I don't even think there's any aftermarket companies offering a 32-inch front end for anything. So that's pretty big news. And it's got the piggyback still. So you got capable suspension up front still, with it even being narrower. Very cool. And it's got twin link steering. So pretty neat seeing the diagrams of the steering post going down and then the way that it's connected down there now. And supposedly that increases the outside of the ski steering angle by 30%. So I'm really hoping that translates into being able to turn the front of the sled downhill in those steep side hills better. If it does, that's going to be a game changer for Ski-Doo, because if you've ridden Ski-Doo, you know that when you're side hilling, the front end kind of wants to go up, and it can be annoying at times when you're in a situation where you want to go down the hill to go down and around a tree or something, and it's kind of a struggle. Like you got to put in a lot of effort to get the front end to go down the hill. So if the skis turn more and you're able to kind of turn the skis and go down the hill better, that'll be really cool. So hoping that is what that translates into. Excited to try it out. Obviously haven't ridden any of them, just blabbing away talking about this right now. Onto the tunnel, shorter tunnel and cooler, just like the X. So you're saving weight there, wet and dry. And then for the skis, you got the DS4 skis, and supposedly they're improved. I don't know what that means. They haven't really specified what exactly that is. The DS4s are very aggressive compared to the DS3s, and forgot to mention it, but the DS3s are still on the Summit X, and they're a lighter feeling, easier to steer kind of a ski, but they're not as precise in the steep technical terrain as the DS4s are. So also interested to try out the improved ski. The Summit X Expert Turbo R 154 weighs in at 457 pounds dry and 537 pounds wet. So again, cool that Ski-Doo is listing dry and wet weights, you know, because I don't think any other manufacturer is putting dry and wet weights. So it's very cool to see that. And on to the Freeride. The Freeride comes in a 146, 154, and 165. Also turbo, naturally aspirated. And then for the Freeride, it comes with a shorter tunnel for the 154 and the 165, but not for the 146. So keep that in mind. And the cooler is not specified as being any shorter. So it sounds like for the Freeride, the tunnels themselves are shorter, but the cooler goes to the back of the sled still. So keep that in mind. The wet and dry weights are down a little bit from last year in the 154 and the 165, but essentially they'll be the exact same for the 146. It still has the rack steering, which is really nice because when you steer, it makes it a little bit easier. Same as 2025, same as this sled sitting in front of us here. And it's got the heavy duty C40 quick adjust suspension all around, which that suspension is really capable from the factory, really awesome. Probably one, other than the Lynx's Shredder RE, one of the most capable suspensions that comes from the factory. It can take a lot, so it's very good for the jumps and the drops and the super aggressive fast riding. It's got the 36-inch front end, so we're still super stable up front. A little bit wider, I mean wider, but that's still pretty narrow when you consider things. Not a lot has changed on it though, which was, you know, a little bit disappointing. It would have been nice if the cooler had been shorter in the tunnel like the X and the Expert. That would have been really nice to have seen, but yeah, that'll probably be next year. And the dry weight for the Freeride Turbo 154 is 460 pounds, and the wet weight on that is 541 pounds, which is, it's only 4 pounds heavier than the Expert and only 12 pounds heavier than the Summit X. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a huge difference in weight between the three models. What it boils down to when you're trying to choose which one you want, the Summit X, the Summit X Expert, or the Freeride, is your riding style. So if you are riding slightly mellower terrain, a lot of tree riding, point A to point B, going on those missions where you want to save energy, then the Summit X is probably going to be your best bet because it is the lightest, but it's got the T-Motion, it's got the 34-inch front end. It's a really light feeling, nimble sled paired with the DS3 skis. Right from the factory, it is excellent for traveling, saving energy, having fun, and it's a very capable sled. Where the Summit X Expert, now it's got that new 32-inch front end. It's made for the super steep side hills, going down into the drainages, holding very aggressive lines. It's got the aggressive DS4 skis. So the Expert is more for an aggressive rider that is going into the steep and deep trees and really pushing themselves. The Freeride, that would be for anyone that's looking to do jumps and drops, playing around, doing all the bow ties, hop overs, all the fun stuff where the sled is landing hard sometimes or you're messing around constantly. But you know, they're all, you know, they can all do pretty much the same thing. It's just depending on how nicely you want to land off of jumps and like how you want the suspension to absorb things is really the biggest difference between all of these. And then a very important thing that is brand new for 2026 is if you get the 10.25-inch touchscreen display, it comes with group tracking now, and that's available as an accessory for 2023s, 2024s, and 25s. So you're gonna be able to track all your buddies offline, no service, within a mile. That's a huge update. It would be very cool if that was able to connect with other programs such as the Trail Tech and Polaris. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but it is very cool technology that Ski-Doo came out with, and very excited to try that out. You know, it's still going to be an issue for when you're riding with people that, or maybe it won't be an issue. I don't know, maybe they will connect. But if they don't connect to other brands, then it'll still kind of be an issue, and you're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna all have to still practice the safe riding styles of keeping eyes on buddy, keeping good communication, knowing where we're all going, knowing where everyone is at all times. It is a cool feature, but it'll be interesting to see if it actually, you know, hooks up with other brands as well. Because as much as I'd like to only ride with Ski-Doos, definitely have some friends that are riding other brands, and you know, you can't completely exclude those people. So yeah. Anyways, really fun talking about this. Let me know in the comments which model you're curious in, if you're going to be ordering for 2026, or if you're going to be buying leftover 2025s, or what your plan is. And if you have any questions in the comments, I'll do my best to answer them. And you know, obviously there's a lot of other information on the internet regarding all this, but you know, just figured I'd share a little bit of my own knowledge, I guess, and you know, maybe we can have a chat about it in the comments. So if you like this video, drop a like, drop a comment, let me know. Thanks for watching.